Good morning. Thank you for joining us. You are watching KUHS on Washington Street. This is the stream, and you are watching the Weekend Boost. I almost said on Melody Drive. That's our old studio. We've been over here almost 2 years, and I still think about the stream. But you are watching the Weekend Boost. I'm your host, Paul Lane, the author of the Caregiver's Handbook, a self-help love story. Guys, we got some good stuff for you. You know how I always talk about term limits on the show? You know how I always talk about the need for change? We need young blood. Well, I got to tell you, man, thanks to my friend Jeanette Angel, we have a panel today that's going to knock your socks off. I guarantee. Pay attention to this. Get your notebooks out, because you're going to have a lot of good information by the end of the show. Not only about where we are right now, but where we are, where we need to go, and how we need to get there. I want to put a special shout out to my friend Jeanette Angel. She is the author of the book. She was also a past guest, if you remember, past guest, Milk or Mascara. And when you read this book and you discover how it was titled and how it came to be known as this title, it's a really, really great story. Typically I like to talk about books that I've read or books that you should read, and this is a must-have book. I got to tell you, this book will change your life. It's not just a game changer, it literally is a life changer. Dr. Joe Dispenza was in a bike accident, and they told him he would never walk again. 6 months later, he walked out of the hospital. Joe Dispenza wrote this book, Becoming Supernatural, and I'll tell you, this book has so many concepts and so many things you never discovered, thought about, or even dreamed about as far as your existence on this earth, what being alive means to you, and really the purpose of life. Excellent read, excellent read. So with that, we're going to go ahead and get started. Today, as I mentioned, we have a panel of young men that are all running for office in Thornton. All even Thornton? Oh, Broomfield,
Thornton. Northern metro area.
Yeah. So this is so exciting, and I'm going to go ahead and start with you, Kenny. Go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Yeah.
And they can hear you, so you can just talk in a regular tone.
Awesome.
I talk loud anyway.
I talk loud as well. And so my name is Kenny Nguyen. I'm a city council member for the city and county of Broomfield right now. I was elected in 2023, and I am one of the youngest current elected officials. I'm also a county commissioner because Broomfield is a city and county. And I'm running for Colorado House District 33 this year, or next year, 2026. And a little about me is that I'm a bureaucrat, so I work in state government. I worked for almost 5.5 years for Lieutenant Governor Diane Primavera, and I'm currently working for the Division of Gaming on my daytime job and being a part-time city council member. And what is important to me is that I am the son of refugees. So my parents were refugees from the Vietnam War. My father literally got on a boat and escaped in the middle of the night in Hue, if you know where that is, during the Vietnam War. And because of his legacy, because of my family, I was able to first my family graduate college, got my master's this year, and so I'm happy to be on the show. Thank you, Paul.
Right on. Tyler.
Right on. Hello, my name is Tyler Quick. I am 34 years old, and I am born and raised in Westminster, Colorado, where I live right now. I am running for Adams County Commissioner in District 4. One of the main reasons that I'm running is that oftentimes people in my neighborhood, I'm an educator. I've been an educator for 10 years. I know what it's like to balance a budget because I have to do it at the end of every single month. And I'm really tired of politicians talking on behalf of working class people instead of aiding us in our quest to represent ourselves, right?
Yes.
So I'm really fortunate. My family has served Adams County for a long time. I've spent all of my life here. I love this place. And I'm in a position to hopefully lift up other young working people with me and get a bunch more of us elected. So
yeah,
wonderful.
Yeah, my name is Gabriel Cervantes. I'm running for the Colorado State Legislature to represent the people in the community that I grew up with in Thornton. I went to Thornton High School, and after I graduated, I went to the University of Colorado, and I paid for my own education. Absolutely do not recommend doing that. And after that, I came back to my community and started a nonprofit with my older brothers to serve students at Thornton High School with providing scholarships and mentorship programs. And from there, I just felt that there was a need that needed to be addressed. I think that the representation that we have in House District 31 is not good. And being someone who would wake up in this community every morning and I wouldn't get home until after the sun had already gone down, that's the story of my siblings, my dad, my neighbors, And it's people like that who have held our community together for decades through the best times and, more importantly, through the worst times. And I think right now, for those people who have held our community together then, going into right now, I think right now we have a choice to make. And that choice is to re-elect a legislator who tried to felonize our free speech, who tried to make it easier to evict people out of our community, especially if you don't speak fluent English, or voted to lower the wages of 80,000 Coloradans across the state who rely on tipped wages. Or we can choose to send our community to the Capitol. We can choose to work for a future that does not have corporations buying single-family housing in our state. We can work for a future that is holding corporate landlords accountable, and whether you live in an apartment complex or a mobile home, you deserve to have clean water coming out of your faucets.
Yeah.
And I think that's a future that we can choose, and I think that's a future we'll realize.
I agree. Just to tell you guys, I don't know if you don't know anything about me, but I was a community activist as a young man. I was the president of my neighborhood association, vice president for 4 years, and then I was the president for 7 years in Greater Avondale Heights, which is on West Colfax. I ran for city council. Actually, I didn't run. I was going to run, and I supported a friend of mine who ran, and he did not win, but it was in a very, very tumultuous time. The Democratic Party is not a clean party any more than the Republican Party, and in Denver, it's a dirty, dirty place. And I mean, he had death threats on his family. I mean, it was unbelievable, even at the city council level, how much manipulation and control was going on, even back then. And so, all my adult life, I've been very, call it radicalized. You know, I believe in a fair system. I believe in exactly what you're saying, a government of the people, for the people, by the people. So just kind of, know a little bit of where I am. And I was a valuing diversity instructor for 10 years. I was a motivational speaker in the Denver Public Schools for about 8 years. And so I have, a very, my heart is here. My heart is with the community. My heart is with people with like I said, a government of the people, for the people, by the people. Before we started, Jeanette Angel had a question for you about if you were a first-time voter, or if you have a first-time voter listening to you, how would you tell them? Tell them about why they should vote, what they should consider, and what they should expect from someone they vote for. And I'll just open this up. No particular order. We'll just go ahead.
Yeah.
One of my mentors in politics, current county commissioner for the north side of Westminster, Emma Pinter, had her cell phone number for a long time on her campaign website. And that's the kind of politician I want to be, because my advice to a first-time voter is do not think less of yourself. These people work for you. You need to feel like you can contact them, and if they're not getting back to you, you need to branch out and see who will get back to you. We work for the people if we get elected. Kenny works for the people of Broomfield right now, and it's kind of as simple as that. So if you want to learn about the process, don't be afraid, get involved.
I want to say your vote matters.
Yes.
My first election was in 2012 for President Barack Obama, and for me as a first-time voter, that was incredible. Re-electing the first African-American president. And so right now, as a city council member, as someone who is currently involved in politics, your vote matters. And right now, President Trump, he claimed he had this massive mandate in 2024. I won with a popular vote. So if you don't vote, you objectively give the other side the narrative.
Yeah.
And when you give them the narrative, we have the majority support of voters. He didn't win the majority vote. He wanted plurality, sure.
It was a manipulated vote. I've said it before. I've said it was a manipulated vote. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
But please, didn't mean to interrupt you, but please
No,
feel free.
Paul, and I want to emphasize, as a local government right now, official, local government has so much power and so much influence.
They talk about everything being local.
Yeah.
It is.
It is. Your water rates, your taxes.
Yes.
I control that as a city council member for the city and county of Broomfield. And if you didn't have me in, you would have people be raising your taxes, raising your funds, and because of me, I'm able to do things like raising affordable housing. I'm able to increase wages for city council members, not city council, city employees. Sorry, it slipped right there. I will not raise any wages for myself as an elected official, but I would want to make
the minimum wage.
Minimum wage, a living wage.
Living wage. Yes. Yes.
I think if there's one piece of advice, I know how we talk about the severity of a lot of things. I think one thing that we hear a lot is, and going into that piece of advice is that there's not a right or wrong answer. And I say that in the framing of that deters a lot of people from voting. You know, we are contacting a lot of people who don't typically vote, right? My district has one of the lowest voter turnout districts in the state of Colorado, percentage of about 23%. And our state leadership in House District 31 was decided by a primary race of 2,600 voters in a district of 86,000 people. This is a safe blue seat, so the primary matters more. And when we are talking to people, a lot of what we get is, well, we get these massive ballots. I don't even know 90% of the people on here. Usually it's just 1 to 2 people that I talk to that I've even heard of. And so it just deters people from voting. And a lot of the restraint that people have is that I don't know what to pick, so I don't want to pick the wrong person. A lot of these people are leaning Dem, but they're unaffiliated races, so you don't see their names anywhere, and it would take them an hour and a half to research everyone just to figure out who they are and X, Y, and Z, and so they end up not voting. And I think the piece of advice that I would reiterate is that there's no wrong answer, and just taking the time to learn about some of those people prior, you know, and I think increasing resources for people for voter education is extremely important. I think that's something specifically that we're trying to address with my campaign.
Yes, yes. Guys, I'm sorry, as you were talking, it just came to me. There's a national strike coming up in a couple of days. The 25th of November, and they, you know, some people were saying to the 1st or the 2nd of December. I'm telling you, extended to the 6th of December. Why? Because Walmart has extended their Black Friday sale. Why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? And I'm sorry, forgive me, I don't mean to wander, but there's a big discrepancy in the earnings of the average American versus billionaires. This is your voice, guys. Listen, when you vote, there's a new way to vote. There's a new way to vote. Woo! Take these out and put them in your pocket, and when this is all said and done, they're still going to be in your pocket. Don't participate. I tell you, I practice what I preach. I canceled Netflix. I canceled Amazon Prime last year, a year ago. I canceled Facebook, Meta, all Meta. I tell you every time. I got rid of WhatsApp. I got rid of Messenger. I got rid of Instagram. It was tough because a lot of my family connections were there. But I feel good about it. You know, I don't have Paramount. I don't have HBO. I don't have any of those pay channels. And yeah, it's kind of sad. But you know something? I'm voting with my dollars. No chain foods. I don't go to any chain restaurant. If it's a big restaurant, if it's not privately owned, if it's not female or person of color owned, I don't shop there. If it is a private small business, I will go to, you know, white stores. But the point of it is not really a race thing. It's more of who has the big money? Who is, you know, I was at Jim's Burger Haven, Grandpa's Burger Haven, I'm just going to say this yesterday, and I got my check and I paid with a debit card and there was a $1.30 bill on there, a surcharge. And that's against the law. I said, imagine if you guys do this to 1,000 customers a day. That's not right. I want these little things changed. And so, you know, that's kind of a side note, but please remember, the national strike starts on the 25th of November. Don't forget. Guys, question. Where do you stand on term limits? Because you guys are all young bucks now. I don't want to be here seeing you guys run, you know, still in office when I'm 90 years old. I hope they live that long. But, no, I mean, you know, we want to talk about these things. These are critical for young people, and people want to hear.
So I can go first. My campaign has signed the pledge for a resolution on congressional term limits. I'm running for a state seat, and there are term limits for state seats, but there aren't at the federal level. And there's 2 major ways that we learned, or that I learned, that you can change that, and that is Congress and the Senate themselves passing an amendment to do that. They're not going to do that.
No.
They would have otherwise. And then also the thing that we can do at the state level is push for a resolution. And essentially there's a larger movement for congressional term limits, and they're starting at that local state level of having their legislators sign for that.
Yes.
And if they put through resolutions, essentially they can pressure the federal level into pushing that through themselves. So
it's so necessary.
it is.
At the federal level, I mean, judges. You know, we see these judges with lifetime appointments. how is this acceptable?
Right.
No.
You know, I mean, I love that you guys have this new perspective that's not the norm. You know, it's not, yeah, man, you know, I want to get in there and have a lifetime politician job. It's a wonderful thing, but it's not serving the needs of the masses.
Right.
Citizens United, talk a little bit about that. How familiar are guys with that?
Yeah, one thing I wanted to say about term limits that's
Oh,
related
please,
to that.
please.
Yeah, that it's just always to, like, you know, have a little bit of caution is when we instituted term limits at the state legislature in Colorado, one of the only negative side effects is that it empowered lobbyists. It empowered the people who are going to stay because they make $500,000 a year to stay there and give other people free lunches, right? So I'm 100% in favor of term limits, but recent events have made it really clear that Colorado needs further campaign finance reform.
Yes, sir.
We need to have resources directed down so that we can build a pipeline so people from Gabriel's neighborhood, from my neighborhood, from Kenny's neighborhood can move on up without, you know, sucking at the corporate teat of power.
You bet. That's exactly well said.
And we've made some progress with it with some of these local finance caps, but at the federal and the state level, the spending is just out of control, and we need to do something about it.
And to your point, you know, regarding recent events with corporate lobbyists, you know, there was that great trip in Vail. I do want to shamelessly plug that of those people who went to that, only one of those legislators is being primaried, and that is the seat that I'm running for. So it's, you know, it's, I just want to get that information out there.
You can tweet about it and complain about it, or you can do what Gabriel's done and go and run for office.
Go
You
on.
know?
That's right, you guys, that's right.
Yeah. And to answer both questions, Broomfield actually passed term limits for city council members. It used to be like unlimited terms. Now it's 3 consecutive terms.
Right.
So Broomfield's already doing that. The voters, a majority of voters, voted yes on that already. And then on your topic of Citizens United, I mean, dark money is real. For the city and county elections for the city and county of Broomfield, we had a group called the Silent Majority Speaks, and they poured $40,000 for city and county elections, and some of that money came from Wyoming. So you have literally out-of-state dollars coming into a local election that doesn't really affect them.
Yep.
How does that make sense?
That's buying influence.
Yes, exactly.
It certainly is.
To the second question, there is, interestingly, a lot of really great things coming out of Montana. It's wild for me to
Yeah, that's a red state.
Yeah. So one of the really cool things that Montana is doing is they are attempting to change the relationship that the state has with the rights and the privileges that are being afforded to businesses. Essentially, if they pass that amendment within the state, they can bypass Citizens United because it's not directly tied to Citizens United. They're essentially taking away the power of businesses to be able to have those abilities to influence elections in the way that they are. So they won't be allowed to have IECs. They won't be allowed to have these donor committees in the way that they have. And that is something that I want to explore as a state rep. One of the things that I want to do is close the loopholes for companies that are being fined by the state of Colorado. So when we talk about my community, we are a 10-minute shot north of the most polluted zip code in the United States.
Wow.
You can stand on any hill, Thornton is very hilly, and you can stand on any hill and see the state's only oil refinery, Suncor. And when Suncor inevitably fails at controlling the pollution that they're pumping out into the air and the water, and they're fined by the state of Colorado, they can go through a process that will have some of those fines forgiven or waived in any kind of way, and that is the difference between Suncor paying $20 million and paying $9.3 million, which has happened. So what we would want to do is explore what Montana is doing. We would not necessarily want to adjust the actual fining process, but we would want to change the relationships with the businesses and their rights and privileges afforded to them by the state. So we wouldn't have to change a lot of those processes. And if we can pass that, then we can do something like what Montana is doing. And then Colorado can get rid of dark money.
That's the word, dark money.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about dark money. I mean, I don't know. I'm guessing that most Americans know now about what Citizens United is, what dark money is, what unlimited donations mean, and how campaign financing is manipulated in favor of one group over another. And I mean, I'm talking about one group over another.
Right. Yeah, no, the Supreme Court, I mean,
Oh.
they again, we talk about term limits. I think that Supreme Court justice should have a term limit.
Mhm.
A lifetime of employment is incredibly, that's insane.
Yeah.
And so, obviously, a select few people, 9 individuals, majority of them voted on Citizens United, and basically stated that you can, you know, you and I, all of us here, we have limits.
Mhm.
We have limits for how we can contribute, how we can basically spend our money and dollars, and it's obviously going to be publicly, like, public information.
Mhm.
Dark money, this concept is basically that if you're a super PAC, a political action group, you can basically fundraise as much money as you want and spend as much as you want. I mean, obviously we have our eccentric billionaire, Elon Musk, he raised a bunch of money.
He's not even American.
I mean, anyway,
Mhm.
dark money, that concept is just basically the idea is that you can't find where that money came from.
Yep.
And you can spend unlimited amounts of it.
And there's no restrictions, and there's no oversight. It's just completely, it's gone amok. It's gone array, and there needs to be changes in that. Why? Because when you are the lobbyist and you are writing the laws, you are literally controlling the system in favor of one party over another, and there's just no fairness in that. There's no equity in that.
Or within a party, honestly.
Or within a party.
We run into it all the time in Adams County. I've knocked on thousands of doors and never heard anyone once say that they want more fracking, more petroleum exploration, more oil and gas development in our community. Then I'm in a room with a bunch of lobbyists and establishment politicians that are like, this is what your neighbors want. They want more oil and gas. And we're getting to the point where oil and gas isn't even viable in foreign markets. Like the Chinese electric vehicles are so cheap that we are losing the ability to export oil and gas as a country. But when the people who profit off it make the laws, there is nothing you can do when they drop, you know, $500,000 mailers into your district saying that you're anti this, you know, and that's what they do. They say, oh, so-and-so is anti-minimum wage increase. They find one little thing they can twist to make it look like you're not progressive. So that their chosen candidate can win. I mean, it's pretty effed up stuff, to be honest with
really
you.
do.
And to bring this to a local level, right? If we talk about a group like One Main Street, you know, the primary race that I'm in, I'm primarying an incumbent, and we have already received 3 mailers from One Main Street, right? Talking about the candidate that I'm primarying, the amazing things that she's done. And mailers are not cheap, and that is really kind of how, at the end of the day, money influences and wins races, right? They can pay for mailers that are not coordinated with the candidate themselves. They can do outreach, and they can do targeting, and they have all of these systems that are set to help someone like the representative in House District 31 win their races. And because, you know, I've raised about $25,000, which is a decent amount for my district. My opponent has raised more than double that, which is astronomical compared to the past candidates that we have had in our district itself. And so, to that point, that is how they win those races, right? And I heard a really great piece by Representative Zokai from Fort Collins, and she was talking about the 2 major things is, at the end of the day, people just sell out. They really do. And the second thing is that these people, you're interacting with these lobbyists all the time, right? And sometimes you get to a point where you build relationships with these people, and they say, oh, well, you know, I don't think you should really support that because of this, this, and this. And this is a person that you've built a rapport with, and so you think, okay, that's actually a good point. I don't think I will support this. And it really leaves your community outside of your purview at that point. And that is really how they invade a lot of our politics as well. And that's how they win races, and that's how they decide the laws that are being pushed through and the laws that are being shot down, unfortunately. And a lot of those groups, I think one thing that I really thought of when you brought that up was my mom is from this town in Raton, New Mexico. It was a small mining city, if you've heard of it. It's just south of the Colorado border. Her grandpa was the president of the Miners Association. And one day there was a rumor that started going around, and one day that rumor became true. The mine shut down. And today that town has about 18% of the original population that it did at its zenith, right? And when we talk about this transition, this clean transition, it's a lot of these powerful companies are pushing this narrative, but at the end of the day, it's a lot of these unions that have compiled worker power for so long that they're the ones fighting a lot of this change that needs to happen, because we're building worker power, we're building workers' protections and good wages, and they want to send their kids to good schools, and all of us want that too. But when we look at the clean transition, the vast majority of the solar field is not unionized. The vast majority of the vast majority of the wind field is not unionized.
And that's intentional.
It is.
That's by design.
It is.
Yeah.
Right.
Guys, there's some water for you too, by the way.
I
need it.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
Appreciate
Thanks,
it,
Henry.
man.
Yeah. And so what we need to be doing at the state level especially
Yeah.
is we need to be providing ways for workers to unionize easier in those fields. We need to be making sure that we're prioritizing the transitions from non-clean energy fields to clean energy fields. We need to be making sure that they have worker protections to make sure that working those jobs is safer than it is right now, and making sure that the workforce coming from those communities is coming from this community, not from out of state, and not taking all that money out of state.
That is such a good point. You know, to some degree, whether it's oil and gas or something else, unsavory projects are going to be necessary, you know, to meet electrical capacity or whatever. But all we ask is that you hire in-state union workers, right?
Yes.
We're supposed to have best value contracting. I'm sure that Broomfield has something similar, right? And like, if we are going to use the argument that economics are why we're going to continue burning fossil fuels, at minimum, we shouldn't have pipelines being built, which has happened recently with non-union labor, right?
Out of state labor.
Out of state, yeah, we're from these right-to-work states where they can pay them pennies.
Right.
So I'm a union member. I'm a union member for Colorado Winds, which is the state organization that represents all Colorado union members.
Right on.
And I've also been endorsed by Plumbers 3, which is a union organization as well. They're all the plumbers in the state. And I think one thing that the Democrats have failed to do is we have to show an economy that works. One of the novels that I think everyone should read is called Abundance by Ezra Klein. Abundance.
Okay.
Abundance is a great novel that talks about how this is where we can move on with a blueprint to beat back Trump's economic policies, his messaging, because a lot of people were convinced that Trump was gonna, bring jobs back, manufacturing jobs. They're gonna bring back costs.
That was
bring
the
down
whole premise
inflation.
of their vote for him.
Exactly, the economy. And the Democrats have just failed miserably. And I'll be honest with you, I was at the DNC last year. I went to Chicago in 2024 in August. I heard, Vice President Harris spoke. I heard a lot of good speakers, and our messaging just did not resonate with voters. And because of that, we're suffering a lot right now. And I think a lot of folks just want affordability. That's the word that I think all of us can agree on, campaigning on.
Yep.
We want to make things affordable. Housing, wages. We want, none of us, I don't think, young people right now, none of us are having kids. Because that's unaffordable.
It's impossible.
It's impossible.
I mean, a one-family income is just a thing of the past. I mean, unless you're an exclusive income bracket, having a one-income household is just not feasible.
It's not possible anymore.
Right. When, I bring this up a lot. My dad bought his house right down the street in 1993 on a single income with, I think at that time he had 4 kids. He bought his house in 1993 with the change in his back pocket and a very, very firm handshake. And when I bought my house in 2021, I bought my house in the hot market. Comparatively to inflation, I made more than my dad. And I had to buy a house with 3 other people who all worked. It was absolutely insane, and there was a bid of over 50 people for the house. The house was listed for $370. We bought it for $410. And that is really just kind of the state of affairs that we are in today. And people who make good money, people who have good jobs, right? They can't buy housing. It's not a matter of working hard or not working hard. I have the work ethic of my dad. I'm extremely proud to have the work ethic of my dad. I have worked 85 hours a week to make ends meet. I know what that looks like. You're not going to tell me that I'm not working hard enough to buy the home that in the community that I grew up in, and that's a lot of the issues with a lot of the people that I'm talking to when I'm running for the state legislature. A lot of these people that I grew up with, don't live in my community anymore because they've been priced out. You know, and when we have things like affordable housing projects that are failing, and people are saying $1,600–1,700 a month is not affordable, it is. That is just the state of affairs that we are in right now. And when we're being outbid by corporations that are artificially raising the pricing of all of our homes, you have a mortgage that is $2,200. Now you have a mortgage. Now you have a rent payment of $3,200 for a 3-bedroom home in Thornton, and young people, because of the fact that they're being outbid by these corporations, they can't buy into housing, right? I was outbidded. My friends and I were outbidded 4 separate times by an institutional investor buying this house, $45,000 over asking price, and then flipping it, and then either renting it out or selling it for a 35% markup for a 35% profit. You either have that, or because of that artificial inflating of prices, you have young people, or you have older people, like my parents, or people who I know in the community who have lived in their houses for 35 to 40 years. All of their kids are grown now. They want to downsize, and yeah, their house is valued at a really good amount, but if they sell it, everything else is so expensive that they can't go and buy a smaller home. And so now they're stuck in this house, which is what a lot of our older folks in the community are feeling, right? You're stuck in your house. And because of all of the rising housing costs, your taxes are crushing you. And so these people are stuck in their homes. You know, it's just not good for anyone, young or old, and that's what we need to address.
So how can we address this?
I mean, I have a lot of ideas. Obviously, the thing you'll hear again and again is supply, and that certainly is part of the problem. I will say also, though, like, as someone who bought an affordable home, right, and unlike a lot of people in my position in politics, I grew up fairly privileged. You know, my dad was a DA growing up. I grew up off 104th and Sheridan. I went to Stanley Lake High School. I had an idyllic childhood. Went and got my PhD. Thought working as an educator. I have tenure. And I only can afford my home because I settled a sexual harassment lawsuit. I would never, ever, ever become a homeowner. And when upper middle class people can't even move back to the community that they're from, right? When I'm paying $477K to live in Westminster, love you, Westy, but on the south side of Westminster, right? It is unconscionable. And I'll tell you, one of my ideas beyond supply, because you're gonna hear supply all the time, which is true, is that Adams County helps people with things like yard work, even just renting out tools, because a lot of my neighbors can't afford tools to work on their yard. And what ends up killing people, why people become house poor and eventually lose their home, is that whether it's a new construction or an old construction, issues arise. You need a new boiler, $15,000. You need a new air conditioner, $25,000. We got a quote on a garage, $26,000 just to have a single car garage. I'm like, well, I guess my windshield just crack in the weather. I don't, you know. And working class people have to make these choices all the time. It's more cost effective for government to intervene at these appropriate, whether it's home repairs. The city of Westminster does appliance replacement and efficiency for senior citizens. Though, you know, some of us are working class and not senior citizens too, and we can benefit from programs like that. So there's a lot we can do to not only lower the cost of homes up front, but also maintaining a home. And hopefully before I lose mine. So
I want to answer your question on housing. And as a city council member, I think we already are making efforts to basically address that. We are doing inclusionary housing.
Inclusionary, I like that
Inclusionary
term.
housing. And we're also doing a thing called 100% AMI, which is affordable housing. AMI stands for average minimum income. The idea is that certain demographics, certain groups will afford certain homes. And that's affordable housing. For Broomfield, as a city council member already, we've already built, or we're in the process of building over 1,000 homes in Broomfield. And for me, I'm from Boulder. I was born in Boulder. So I can't afford a $1 million home. That's why I had to move to Broomfield. You know?
Owning a home in Boulder is not going to happen.
People's Republic.
One
People's
is very
Republic
cheap
of Boulder.
for Boulder, actually.
$1 million.
No kidding.
But I mean, I do also want to talk about healthcare. That's okay. Because,
Yes.
Because you know, having a home is important, but having your health is also important as well. And right now, we're going to be seeing healthcare premiums go up like crazy because of the current federal administration, because of the current Congress, and unfortunately, the state is going to have to pay into this. And right now, we're going to be seeing people without healthcare, without homes. And to answer your question about how we fix this, well, we got to fix healthcare first. That's a priority, and then when we reduce healthcare costs, we can hopefully increase supply and demand for homes. And there's so many things we have to do, and we're catching up.
Yes.
It's impossible to catch up in this economy right now.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
Zoran Mamdani, a Democratic Socialist, he won in more than a landslide. It was a humiliation.
Yeah.
Mario Cuomo had 9 billionaires investing in him because they didn't want to lose 2% of their taxes. The third party system is something that's been relatively non-existent in our country because we can't get 5% of the vote. I ain't gonna lie to you, I voted for Jill Stein, and I'm not ashamed of that because I am anti-genocide. Talk about the two-party system and why it needs to go. Or if you think it's good, then tell me you feel it's good.
So-
No, I really would like your input on this
No.
because this is critical right now.
Paul, I think you. So I want to be like I said, I was a delegate for Harris in 2024. I am, in my opinion, I'm on the Central Committee for the Colorado Democratic Party. I am by all metrics a party insider, and so my words to convince you to turn your Jill Stein vote to a 2028 Democratic vote is that we have to stop against the rising tide of fascism and the right wing.
We are in a bad way.
Exactly, and I think that I want to highlight that there's a lot of things I don't agree with the Democratic Party. Absolutely. I don't agree with their position on Israel. I don't agree with their position on Gaza. I don't agree with a lot of their positions on not standing up to Trump. And I think that the government shutdown, it sucks because we have to choose between starving people or people losing their health care. It shouldn't be that.
Yeah, or killing people in another country.
Yes, you're absolutely right.
And this is a very strong stand for me. So, and
Yeah.
forgive me for being opinionated, but
No.
please feel free, guys.
No, absolutely.
So the irony is never lost. God, I hope I don't get a primary because I'm the only one of us that doesn't have a primary, so I might end up getting one. But the irony is never lost on me that I am running for the nomination of Andrew Jackson's Slave Party. Right? That's what it is. That's the invention of this party.
It truly was.
And what I always tell folks is that you should not feel loyal to a party, right?
Yeah.
But you should
Good
always
point.
understand the party. I will say we have a fantastic Adams County Democratic Party, and that's come with a lot of work over the years, let me tell you. And not only is it a great party, one of the reasons it was so easy for progressives to come in and take leadership in this party is that whether it's young Dems, whether it's precinct organizer, 99% of the time we're actually begging people to participate.
Yeah.
These primaries, we had a contested county commissioner election in 2024, and if you were to take the votes from the two candidates, one got 60%, one got 40%, you add them up, they still got less votes combined than Bernie Sanders did in the 2020 presidential primary in Adams County, right?
Right,
So I get that people don't love the Democratic Party, and at risk of drawing the wrong kind of attention, I'll admit I don't really love the Democratic Party either, but it is the vehicle toward our salvation right now, and if you participate, you may become less cynical about it in the process.
I'm not going to convince you to vote for the Democratic Party. But, I think when we talk about a multi-party system, right, when we see other countries, Canada just did this, France did this recently, multi-party systems, they typically also behave in kind of a one or the other situation, and that is really relative to how popular that party is in that specific cycle. We saw this especially in France, where their left-leaning proto-socialist Labour Party was extremely popular, and then you had the slightly more moderate kind of left-leaning party like coordinate with them, and then it turns out the same way it always is. You have the conservatives going against the progressives, right? And that's really kind of the direction that even a multi-party system goes. I think, to Tyler's point, it is extremely important to participate in primaries at the end of the day.
There should be no uncontested race.
I completely agree with
I
that.
agree with you as well.
I completely agree with that.
I agree. There will be dozens on
Yeah.
the
There'll
next
be-
ballot.
Yes, I'm telling you, this last election, it changed the world.
Yeah.
We talked earlier about the governors of Virginia and New Jersey, female.
Yeah.
The whole government of Michigan, female. The whole government, New Mexico.
Right.
And it's going all over the world because, and I talk about the matriarchy is at hand. But change is due. We need young blood. We
Yeah.
need young men and women who are in these positions, who are not afraid to make a stand, who
Right.
see that there needs to be change.
Right. Right.
Guys, just want to remember, if you're just joining us, you are watching KUHS, the stream, and this is the Weekend Boost. I am your host, Paul Lane, and we're talking to a panel today of young men who are progressive candidates in the North Colorado, Adams County, Broomfield, Thornton districts.
Yeah.
And, we're getting some really good talking points here. And so let's go ahead and continue. What other things are of really importance right now that you'd like to discuss?
Right now.
Why should someone vote for you, Tyler?
That's a hard
question.
That's a hard question.
No,
Yeah.
that's an easy question, right?
There you go.
I'm not bought and paid for, you know?
Mhm.
That's why someone should vote for me. I only want to do good for our community, and I'm someone who's going to experience the effects of whatever policy I make, right? All of my wealth is in my home.
Mhm.
My kids, if I have, we'll see about that now, but they'll go to the public school system, you know? Like, I'm a normal dude. And unfortunately, I think that, I can't remember which one of you brought this up earlier, but a lot of politicians over time just completely and totally divorce themselves from reality.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Especially after, certain, multiple terms. You become disassociated because you are, campaign finance. We talked about that. People need to have grassroots organizations. And that's my opinion. Again, I'm injecting that. But I believe that when we start get grassroots, investment in a candidate, you're going to have a candidate that's beholden to that grassroots population.
Yeah.
And what's the
Yes.
result of that? What kind of changes it's going to be huge.
Right. I think a really good point to that is, being indigenous, right? We had a lot of very stringent democratic societies. I always think about, it's completely opposite side of the country, they're completely foreign to us, but I can always imagine being a 14th century Haudenosaunee national, knocking on people's doors, telling them, hey, can you vote for me? I'm running for the council, essentially, right? I grew up in my community, and as I said before, I would wake up before the sun came up, and I would go to school, I would go to work, I would go to practice multiple times a day, and I wouldn't come home until after the sun had come down. And neither were my siblings, neither were my neighbors, neither were my dad. That's the kind of community that I come from. And I take a lot of pride in knowing that that's the kind of community that I come from, and knowing that those people have held our community together for generations all the way until now. Right now, as we continue talking about this, we have a choice to make, right? And we can choose to re-elect a legislator who will continually introduce things that are by far more detrimental to our communities than beneficial, because she cares more about what lobbyists are saying than people in our community. Or we can choose to send our community to the Capitol and send those messages to those corporations, those investment firms, and tell them that our kids aren't going to go to school with bloody noses and migraines that make it too difficult to read the books in front of their faces anymore. We're going to make sure that corporations can't buy all of our single-family homes and then rent them back to us at twice the price.
Yes, we need to make a restriction on that.
Yeah, we're going to make sure that we're holding corporate landlords accountable, right? And the reason you should vote for me is because you're not voting for me. You're voting for someone who will empower the communities for you to be able to do that.
Yes.
Right? As I've mentioned before, our state leadership was decided by 2,500 people in a district of 86,000 people.
Tell me a vote doesn't count.
The vote
Oh,
difference
it was,
was
yeah.
212 votes.
Oh.
That was the difference in the
That's
primaries.
razor thin when you
It is.
consider that.
Our city councilor, who just had an amazing race in Thornton, John Algie, he got more votes in his city council race than the people running in the primary to represent our community at the state level.
Yeah.
Like that's insane to think about. And so you're not voting for me, you're voting for the community. You're
That's
voting
what I want to hear. Yes.
to see our people take our lives back into our own hands, so we can buy homes, so we can start our families, so we can live out the rest of our days in the communities that we were living in. for 40
Pursuit of
years.
happiness.
Exactly.
That last point is so important too, because most of my friends didn't end up living in Westminster because Westminster's too expensive for us now, right? Like, that's just not fair.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
So I'm running on affordability, and I'm running on the dreams of my parents. because they came here as refugees from the Vietnam War.
Yep.
And so for me, I'm very fortunate, I'm very lucky to have gone to college, to have been able to serve in AmeriCorps. I was an AmeriCorps service member. I work for the state of Colorado. I'm a public servant. And I want to continue to serve the public because I believe in this experiment we call democracy, in this experiment we call our nation's history. And you know, next year we're going to be celebrating the 250th anniversary of the founding of the United States of America. And we're going to be also celebrating, because you know, Colorado is a centennial state, the 150th anniversary of the state of Colorado.
Yep.
And so for me, this is a pivotal moment in our time, in our country, because we're seeing a president who basically is disregarding all social, political norms.
Concentration camps in America.
Literally.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm emotional about this, so
No.
please, yeah, continue.
And so I'm running for my family, for my community, for the people with disabilities, and the issues that you want me to work on, and I want to work on is, again, affordability, education, healthcare, living wages. I think all these things bind and bring us together, because you're right, we are the land of opportunity. In this,
We are a land of immigrants.
a land of immigrants, and for those who are indigenous, who are Native American, you know, we are newcomers. And as a newcomer, as someone who wants to represent, not a single representation of Asian American in government right now. Out of the 100 state representatives,
That's
Senate
disgusting.
senators,
There's no reflection of the community.
exactly.
I keep interrupting, forgive me.
Paul, I appreciate the passion. I appreciate it, and I appreciate you inviting me. And I want to give a huge shout out to Janet as well.
Yes.
And Janet and Angel for bringing us here, because we're here as progressives. We're here as people who want to make a difference, and for us, that is important in this current. Yeah.
She's the author of this book, guys.
Yeah.
She's a community activist, she's a leader, she's a shaker, she's a mover. I have complete respect for her. There's so many things that we have to talk about. You know, immigration reform is it has to be addressed. You know, I mentioned concentration camps. We literally have concentration camps in the United States of America in 2025. And it's a specific group. You know, my great-grandfather was Mexican. He grew up in a town, and was born in and grew up in a town called Plaza de Leones, Mexico.
Yeah.
My grandfather was a first-generation American. He grew up in a town called Walsenburg, Colorado. They're the same town. When you hear the term "we didn't cross the border crossed us,"
Yes.
my family is that example. And so that really gives me a strong passion for when I see an ICE vehicle, I want to follow them. I mean, I'm at a point in my life now, and I'm old. I'm not afraid of dying. That, you know, they've made it so there's no due process. And if there's a guy with brown skin and brown eyes, especially if he or she talks with an accent, they have complete reign and control, and that's not acceptable in any society. And that doesn't have any point or question, but we need to understand that America cannot wipe her ass without immigrants.
Yeah.
Can't. You know that they've deported Mexicans two times before. It was the Repatriation Act, Project Wetback, and each time they illegally deported American citizens. Some didn't even speak Spanish. Hundreds of thousands of them. Inevitably, it's going to happen again. We need to stop this.
Yes.
This president just recently declared war on the United States while simultaneously seeking the Nobel Peace Prize. And now when Democratic lawmakers came up and said, you do not have to break the law, you cannot follow unlawful orders, he says he wants them to get the death penalty and be in prison. That's fascism.
Yes, it is.
At the, I hear, right? I hear the anger, I hear the frustration, right? House District 31 has, much like CD8, the congressional district that Gabe Evans is representing right now. Manny Rutino's running to take him out, and
Love Manny.
I'm a big supporter of Manny.
Yes,
sir.
But at the crux of that, House District 31 has a Latino population of over 50%. It has one of the highest concentrations of Latinos in the area, right? We are almost as diverse. We're the third most diverse city in the state of Colorado, behind Denver and Aurora, and then it's Thornton. And the vast majority of that concentration is in House District 31. We hear a lot of that, and what we think that we can do at the state level is, we had met with David Seligman, who's running for Attorney General, and I think that's something that we can address at the state level is we can create a legal pathway for the state of Colorado to prosecute ICE agents who are unlawfully detaining people, grabbing people that they shouldn't be grabbing.
Body slamming them.
Right, right. We want to create a pathway for the state of Colorado to prosecute ICE agents as felons under the state of Colorado. And I think that is how we can address that at the state level, and
Yes.
and that is how we can address rising fascism. It always starts in our communities, and I think that's how we can fight and push back.
Thank you. I want to reiterate what those lawmakers said yesterday or day before yesterday about following illegal orders. Guys, I'm a veteran, and we learned about the Posse Comitatus Act, and that dictates whether or not you can exercise your powers against civilians. You cannot. And I was just following orders is not an excuse. Guys, remember Nuremberg, Germany. If you're not old enough to remember that, Nuremberg, Germany was a time when the Nazis who participated in a genocide were held accountable. You will be held accountable, whether you're an ICE agent, a National Guard, or regular Army, military, you will be held accountable. You do not attack American citizens. You are here to protect against foreign entities, period. The Posse Comitatus Act is very clearly written. I wanted to say that because that was one of my priorities for today's show. Because I believe that we as Americans need to stand up for American values.
Yeah.
We need to stand up for the rights of all individuals. And you cannot be punished by virtue of your birthplace. Yeah. Or because of your language. My friend May Tran came from Vietnam, and she tells a story of how they escaped the oppression that was going on, how they were killing anyone with a degree, how they were killing anyone who wore glasses, they were killing anyone who had any exhibited any kind of intelligence whatsoever. And I mean, I've even apologized to May for what my country has done to hers, because we've done some really bad things in our past. Again, I'm off track, but
Sorry.
guys,
good, Paul.
guys, this is America. And America will not succeed if we don't all participate. Your votes, guys. I mean, it's not acceptable that 40 to 50% of the population stays home on election day.
Yeah.
If you don't know how to write or fill in a ballot, you can contact someone. I helped probably 6 people in this last election help understand what their ballots mean. There are people who are in law who want to make positive changes. Look at these young guys, man. This is the future of America, and you guys, there should be no such thing as an uncontested election. None.
Except my primary. But.
Tyler's the exception. Yeah. No, but really, it's a time where we desperately need the thoughts and the minds of young people, because you are the future. You know?
Well, let me just tell you what I've been told from the beginning to not mention that I'm running principally because of climate change. All the consultants have told me nobody cares about that issue, and all I can think is like, yeah, I care because I have to live with this,
That's
right?
right.
The 60, 70-year-old politician who's telling me it doesn't matter, they may not have to live with it. I mean, we're actually finding out in real time, oh, surprise, surprise, you do, right? We've not had snow yet. What is it, November 22nd?
Yeah.
22nd.
I was outside in short sleeves last
Yeah.
night.
Yeah.
Frost.
Seeing the green on trees outside right now is terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you guys grasp that. You know, so many people are so oblivious to the changes in weather. You know, I mean, look at how many devastating storms we've had in the Midwest and out east on the East Coast, one after another. I mean, I don't watch American news. You know, Kendrick Lamar said it during the Super Bowl, turned the TV off. They're all owned by the same people. I watch Al Jazeera. Man, I'm telling you, you want to watch news. But man, I'm telling you, they show you the earthquakes that you never hear about. They talk about cyclones that you never talk about. Flooding that you've never heard about. The whole world is in uprising right now, guys. The whole world. But you don't see it because the American media controls what you see, learn, and hear. Right. It's a true statement.
Right. I was going to say something and I completely forgot.
I want to say that thank you so much for inviting us onto your show. It means a lot because, yes, we want to make big changes, but we also want to hopefully keep a rational, democratically elected country together. And right now, I think we're in that pivotal moment.
Yep.
And for me personally, I think at this time, in this juncture, when we talk about the concentration camps, I think of Amache,
Omachi, yes.
which is a concentration camp
Written out of Colorado.
for
yeah.
Japanese Americans.
Mhm.
And I think of people who, just because, you know, the right wing, MAGA, this rising tide of fascism, and we have to step up. And luckily for me, we talked about this before the show, but you know, there's been a surge of people going out and protesting.
Mhm.
And we won't see the Gen Z protests like Nepal or Malaysia
Mhm.
or in Egypt and etc. But I think that Madani was a wake up call.
Oh man,
I think that
deep Mississippi.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's a tide that's changing right now, and people are really waking up to. I mean, so many people, or even the MAGA organization, that this is earth-shattering in terms of political perspective, because I don't know of any time in history where there's been such a mass exodus from a party or from a candidate. And I mean, you're looking at his, and we know who, when we talk about it, the biggest idiot in the world, everyone in the world knows who you're talking about. But when you see in his approval rating going down to 34 and below, that's an indication of a bigger problem that needs to be addressed, and that needs a cleaning out, if you will.
Yeah.
Guys, this has been a fast hour. It always seems to go so fast. Changes in the air, and people are looking for a fresh perspective. Here it is. My slogan on the show is everybody's looking for a hero, and if you can't find one, be one. Guys, there are seats open for you, and some of them pay pretty good, but that's not the reason to run for a political office.
Yeah.
The reason to run for a political office is to make positive change in the lives of the people, your constituents. You do not run for one party or the other. You run for all constituents,
Yeah.
left, right, in the middle. I was a valuing diversity instructor for 10 years, and we used to have a time when we would pick up a key, a big key ring. And as a valuing diversity instructor, you had to hold and represent every key on the ring.
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't say, oh, well, I don't like gays, well, I don't like black, I don't like white, I don't like... No. You represent everyone, and that is what I love about hearing you guys talk. You represent the constituency that you are running for. You guys, I see big things in your futures. I do, man. And you know what? Elevate. You know, they say the sign of the best coach is the head coach is the one that helps other people become head coach.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I want to see. That's what I'm so proud to have you guys. You guys you just warmed my heart having you on our show today. Guys, we are talking to the future of America today, and your vote matters. You know, right now we got about 5,400 people watching the show worldwide, and so there's 5,000 people right now that are scratching their head thinking, maybe I should run. Oh, maybe 1,000. Okay, maybe 100. I don't care if there's 3. If you're considering being an influence in the world, a positive, person, throw your hat in the ring. Be a hero. Kenny Nguyen?
Yes, sir.
Tyler Quick?
Thank you.
Gabriel Cervantes? Guys, this is what America needs. We need fresh thoughts, fresh thinking. We need new perspectives that really, really are going to make a difference. I believe Paul Chavez is coming up in the next show, in the next hour. Mr. International, guys, thank you so much for joining us. It's such an honor to have you, and I'm so glad that you guys are a part of it. Again, don't forget Jeanette Angel's book, Milk or Mascara. I've been your host of the Weekend Boost, Paul Lane. I will see you in 2 weeks. Thank you so much for being here.